Hi guys, in today's introduction to the Cato Management Application video, we're going to be talking about the network menu. In the network menu, you have sections on network monitoring and network configuration. When you first go into the network menu, you're going to be dropped into the sites page under network monitoring. Let's look at the sites page. You can see the site connectivity status, how many are connected, the connection types I have, so actual sockets, physical or virtual or cloud sockets, the socket versions, and the list of all the sites, and you can filter those. So for instance, I have a logical site called Josh's HQ. I have physical sockets associated with that. So if I click Josh's HQ and go into site configuration and socket, I can get details associated with that. So I built the site of Josh's HQ, and then I assign these sockets there, and I can get the status of those. The LAN interface status, the HA status, a lot more in the academy on the individual sockets and deployment for you to learn, but I wanted to at least show you that here. Let's go back out to the network menu and go one up to the network overview. The network overview is going to show you the connected sites and the throughput by individual SDP users and the actual site. So you can go and we'll look and see a different way of viewing site names and total bytes up and downstream. We already talked about sites. Let's go to site overview. So site overview is going to break it down by individual site and see that throughput. You can go into more detailed monitoring and configuration here if you'd like, and I can see all my sites as I scroll down. The routing table is going to give you the details on the routing configuration for your Cato management application, the IP and subnet, which you first set up when you first bring a socket online, how it's connected from this next hop, the routing type, origin pop, lots of details in here so you can understand how your routing is running in your Cato management application. All right, let's move down to network configuration. So network rules. This is super powerful. So you can build network rules around any type of application traffic you see in your environment. So for instance, just to give you an example, I wrote a rule around prioritizing YouTube. So it says, hey, this is the source of any. The application category is YouTube. And in my configuration, I said bandwidth priority of P2. So I'll show you what those bandwidth priorities are and how to build those. But essentially, this is a quality of service or QoS tagging that allows you to prioritize the traffic that you determine, in this case, YouTube, and across the entire Cato management application. So that means all the way from the user up to the Cato POP and out to the application and back. You're prioritizing that traffic. So if you've got private applications, really important applications you connect to on the internet, you can prioritize those using network rules. Another example a lot of customers use is they will bypass traffic, for instance, to say, hey, this I want to be able to do a bypass rule on. Other ways are like, hey, I want to egress traffic out of a certain POP or point of presence of 90 plus Cato POPs around the world. You can say this type of traffic, I want to exit out of the Sydney POP. I want to be able to use IP out of the Portland POP. So it's a great way to be able to present yourself in that local market from an IP perspective. A prime example is that is like an IPsec tunnel. You have a partner that wants to connect to you via IPsec from a partnership perspective. You present the IP in their local market. They happen to be in Chicago. You give them an IP in Chicago. The IPsec tunnel follows a very low latency connection in that local market and then rides the Cato backbone for the rest of the connections to your other applications. All right, so DHCP, this is going to be all your DHCP settings and configuration. There's some standard stuff you can read about in the knowledge base, but if you want to do some advanced configurations or options, here they are. DNS settings, same thing here. If you want to be able to change or your DNS settings, be able to do some DNS forwarding, this is where you would do it. Bandwidth management, I talked a little bit about this. Once you assign that priority rule of the P2, it's going to take on that class of traffic that I showed you in that network rule. So you can do a new bandwidth management rule. Once you assign a network rule, it's going to take on that label here. You can use our predefined one as well and assign those in network rules. So this is very useful in a way to be able to prioritize traffic across the Cato infrastructure. IP allocation, when I mentioned earlier about exiting traffic out of a certain POP, this is where you do it from. You'd select the location where you want that IP address, Boston, and then you save that, and then it's going to be able to have that IP address for you here that you can then present to a partner or that you can use for your network configurations in your Cato design. The connection SLA is, let's continue without saving. So I didn't want to save that Boston IP. So connection SLA, you can view and set up service level agreement thresholds. So you can look for packet loss and latency and last resort links. So ways to be able to hold ISPs accountable for packet loss and latency and be alerted on that. Same with link health rules. So how is that link health functioning? How is ISP functioning? You can create those rules here. Last mile monitoring probes. This is a probe that actually sends out ICMP packets across that to predefined sites that you can set up to be able to look for packet loss and latency statistics. Experience monitoring probes take it a step further and allow you to do that on a per user basis and a per site basis to be able to say, I want to open up not only ICMP, but TCP, DNS, HTTP. So you're looking deeper into the application process by sending out these synthetic transactions using these probes to these sites that you have predetermined that are important to you. And that'll show up in the experience monitoring dashboards. ILMM service is intelligent last mile management service. So you can use Cato to be able to help manage some of your telecom's last mile links. Maybe you don't want to open trouble tickets with them or support tickets. We can help you on that on your behalf. All right, guys, thanks so much. I hope this is helpful. All right, guys, in summary, today we introduced the network menu as a part of the Cato Management Application. In the network menu, we covered network monitor, reviewed what a site is and some of the site overview and viewing options. We talked about the routing table, and then we talked about some network configuration options and network rules and DHCP and bandwidth management. And then we talked about some of the SLA network setups that you can do within the Cato Management Application. All right, guys, thanks so much. I hope this is helpful.